Good afternoon and welcome to the final plenary of the day. I'm Laura Heisler, co-chair of the Force for Positive Change Planning Committee and director of programming for the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. In just a moment, I'll be introducing our speakers for this session. First, I'd like to give you a sense of what to expect in this final hour of today's event. We're going to begin with a fireside chat between Force for Positive Change visionaries and founders John and Tasha Morgridge and WEDC Secretary and CEO Missy Hughes. They'll be talking with one another about the role that social enterprise plays in shaping Wisconsin's economy now and into the future. Time permitting, they'll be able to field some of your questions, which you can enter in the chat. I'll help introduce those questions towards the end of the discussion. At 3:30, we'll bring this conversation to a close and shift gears to announce the winners of the Force for Positive Change competition. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our featured speakers. Missy Hughes became Secretary and CEO of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation in the fall of 2019. Prior to stepping into this role so vital to our state, she was the Chief Mission Officer and General Counsel for Organic Valley, where she served for 16 years. John and Tasha Morgridge were born and raised in Wisconsin, hailing from Wauwatosa, and both are alumni of UW-Madison. Their commitment to philanthropy is well known and appreciated by numerous organizations in Wisconsin and around the world. They founded the Force for Positive Change in 2016 and have been the lead sponsors of the competition and events for each of the 4 editions of this program. We are super honored to be able to sit in on this conversation between the 3 of you. Tasha, I believe you were going to start us off this afternoon, so the virtual floor is all yours.
Hello, everybody. You know, it's really fun for us to have a virtual visit with people from our home state. Actually, we were just in Wisconsin about 2 weeks ago for a very quick weekend of lots of visiting. So we do love this state and we're glad to be part of this presentation. One of the topics that we're going to be included in this particular conversation is about networking and the way in which networking can help each of us and also all of our organizations. Normally, we'd be in Eau Claire, and networking would probably happen naturally throughout the day, but that's not true right now. So with networking in mind, let's start with Secretary Hughes. Secretary, would you talk a bit about some of the state resources that are available and how both for-profit and not-for-profit entities can network with the state?
Yeah, well, thank you. And please call me Missy
Okay.
because we're sitting by a virtual fireside. So I hope that we can do that. You know, I think one of the most important things to keep in mind is if you're wondering if there are resources that can help you, I'm here to tell you that there are. You just have to, you know, look, and that's the important thing about networking is helping to find those resources. So at WEDC, we're the state's lead economic development agency, and so we have an eye on so much that's happening in the state. And throughout the state, there are things like seed accelerators and other types of resources available to entrepreneurs. And even just, you know, before you're even an entrepreneur, if you're just somebody with an idea, there are all sorts of resources. Each of the system schools has a small business development center that you can walk into and have a conversation with them about what resources might be available. You can also, we started a website, Tasha, that's called Startup in Wisconsin. It's startupwi.com. And that can really help you, you know, if you're a person who just first wants to just see what's there before actually talking to anybody, you can go online and you can, you know, start to look for resources in your area, but there's also statewide resources. There's just a ton of support out there for you as you start your business.
When you say resources, what do you mean? Help or money or both or expertise or what?
Yeah, we really talk about resources as both money, right? That's important. But even more importantly, I think, you know, 50-50 is technical assistance. So, you know, a help getting, and say you need something printed on a 3D printer in order to have a project come to life. there's resources to help you get that technical assistance to do that. If you need to understand, finances or write a business plan, there's resources to help you with that. If you're a scientist and your idea needs marketing help, there's resources for that. So technical assistance, I think, is often more important than financial assistance.
Is there one website or one place that people could go to find those or see a list of them, or how does that work?
Yeah, we started a website that's called Startup in Wisconsin. So it's startupwi.com, or you can just go to WEDC's website and we'll be able to, you'll be able to find it on our website and start at the top, and then you can find things in your region and often even in your community.
Sounds great. Yeah.
So what do you're focusing on networking, and I'm wondering, in your experience, because we really want to hear about your experience, why is that something that you think is so important?
I'll let John talk about that one.
Well, number one, networking starts with curiosity, and curiosity about the various subject material that you're addressing. We've had a lot of projects in Wisconsin and also here in California, with nonprofits. Typically, a lot of them have been in the area of education. So that's probably an area where we have the greatest appreciation of the importance of networking. We just got off a call this morning on a project we have in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in 4 K-8 Milwaukee schools. And it's a team that includes Milwaukee Public Schools, the Boys and Girls Club, and City Year. All of those 3 entities, of course, have as their goal the improved education of their student bodies. And in those 4 schools, it's about 2,000 students. The interesting thing about it is how over this, we've now been in this project, which actually was created by the superintendent, the prior superintendent, 6 years ago. And talking this morning, I think the most important takeaway that those people have found is their relationships. Relationships with teachers, with school administrators, principals, and the resources that all 3 bring to the table. Even more interesting is how that consortium has evolved in terms of their trust and respect for each of the elements and their ability to share information and ideas and capitalize on each other's learning across the total project. And it goes even beyond that. One of the good things, good, I don't know, I'll use the term good, is that the fact that the students are now online has taken the school, City Year, and the Boys and Girls Club into the home, and developed an appreciation for the family. One of the things I find amazing about successful projects is the ripple effect, how it ripples out not only within the group, but beyond the group. And this morning was a classic demonstration of that, with the increased understanding of the situation of the student, as relates to the family, as relates to the various elements, their needs. We talked with the Boys and Girls Club about their summer camp, and what is the mix of education and fun, and because summer, some people may think summer should just be education to catch up. And that's not what summer is in Wisconsin. Wisconsin summers is out at the lake and swimming and hiking and biking and running and playing, all of those things. And so you got to get the right proportionality. And I think the increased understanding of the total, the family unit and the kids. And then it also brings to light the challenges. In Milwaukee and certainly throughout Wisconsin, one of the challenges is high-speed internet, the availability of it. Certainly all of the nonprofits that were and businesses that were part of this exercise have an appreciation for that, and the imbalance of it across the total geography, which incidentally, Missy, is something that the state should actively.
We're working on it.
There's a little assignment for you, Missy.
I know, I got it. That has been, economic development doesn't usually think about something like broadband, but it has been so important. And it's really highlighted. I appreciate, John, what you're saying, bringing into the family, because without being able to see how the student is struggling, if there's a digital divide, as they're calling it, then otherwise it's amorphous, right? Like to really see that they're having to do their work on a phone rather than on a computer, or that their connectivity is not good, then you can really empathize and act on that empathy.
Yeah, I think that's true. They were talking about the fact that they've come together and collaborated and coordinated, but now they've gelled. All the parts and pieces have gelled, and as the city Boys and Girls Club leader said, I wish we could send that gel out to the families, because it's been difficult. It's just been really tough. And part of this whole pandemic has been the lack of personal contact. And here we are, we're talking about networking and how you have to be curious and get out there and network, and we're stuck in our houses and we're isolated from each other, and our organizations are isolated. It really makes it tough to do the networking. But listening to the Milwaukee people, they've been inspired by this, and they have used, they're thinking out of the box, which they've not had to do before. And they found ways to make this work and to make it even better than it was when they were all in contact with each other. So everybody's had to do this enormous pivot. And all of the organizations, all 175 that applied, all of them had to think out of the box. We've all had to be kind of new learners in this period of our life. And it's not been easy. And I think perhaps in the beginning, we all sort of spun our wheels. But now I think we've all got traction, and we're learning, and maybe we're a little fearful of going back to the old way. Yeah. Which is kind of an interesting thing.
Tasha, can I ask you, there was a question in the chat, and I'm gonna bring it forward. One of the question was, how long did it take for this gel to occur between those organizations. And I'm wondering if you can use a little bit more descriptive of what that gel is, because I think it's really important.
Well, we have not been we're not active members of the organization,
Yeah.
but
although we do meet with them 3 or 4 times a year.
we do.
Okay.
Yeah, usually in
and
person.
most recently remotely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think it's interesting because we are in our 6th year, and that's the first time I've heard gel. They have come, and maybe it's just her term, but over the 6 years, there have been constant discussions about how they're collaborating. These individuals, these organizations, they meet monthly, every month, through the pandemic, through the summer when they were doing all the planning, they meet monthly. And then there are other groups that meet more frequently, subgroups that meet more frequently. And they have talked about that they find an advantage to the collaboration that they have created. Now, to be perfectly truthful, there is a woman, Rachel Lander from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, who is kind of the head glue person. And she is a researcher in education from Wisconsin. And she is the head of all of this. She is the leader of these organizations. So she's set up a structure. She's called the meetings. And then it's become kind of a natural thing that they do. But without Rachel Lander, or without a leader, you need to have someone who's going to cause this to happen. And I think because they've been together and they're consistently always attending those meetings, getting to know each other better and better over time, I think that's why this suddenly they feel as if they're really gelled together and cemented together.
It feels like there's a commitment part that creates that gel.
But there's a commitment because they're getting something out of it.
Mhm.
They're all tired. They're all busy. They're all stretched. And unless you come away from a meeting and say, oh boy, that was worth it, you're not going to come back.
Yeah.
So the meetings have been worthwhile for all of the individuals. And I think that's why it appears to be consistent and getting stronger all the time. Yeah.
And she's a good example of looking for assets in your sphere that you don't control, but which you can incorporate and gain leverage from. And nonprofits tend to be very focused on their goals and perhaps should widen their vision as to what are the resources in my sphere, in my broad sphere, that I don't control, but certainly I could engage. And I can engage them in a myriad of ways, not the least of which is putting them on my board, not the least of which is capitalizing on actual resources that they have that I can buy part of or use part of. And I think there is a tendency to try and go it alone, and in terms of ultimate success, I think it's far better to try and broaden that vision of who's in my sphere, and that includes people who have very similar goals to the goals of my nonprofit or my project, and it includes people who different goals, but who have resources, pieces of which strengthen my hand.
Resources such as knowledge you're talking about.
Well, it's knowledge, it's people,
Mhm.
it's actual processes, it's ideas. We've had a lot of experience over the last 30 years in projects in Wisconsin. And, one of them that we had early on for about 8 years was a technology project where we provided smart boards and Chromebooks and into the classrooms. And we actually impacted about 125 of the school districts. Most interesting, however, was how it brought the school districts to view their other schools in the state as potential assets.
Mhm.
And Tashia can tell you about JAM.
Yeah, yeah. There were 3 small school districts, one of whom had a great science teacher, one who had a great math teacher, and I don't know, the other one might have been English. And so they had, what are those called? The Cisco thing.
Oh,
They had
telepresence.
we supplied telepresence, and the teacher in this school taught math to all 3 schools and so forth. But it had to be two-way. You couldn't just take the
Okay.
math
Just didn't
course.
guess.
So
You gave.
it was another one of those collaborations that it worked so well that other collaborations like that ended up popping up around the state. So it's all kinds of tapping into other strengths.
Well, and I think
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's one of the things I've thought of. I think there's such a huge opportunity for that now.
Yes.
Previous to the pandemic, we were talking about one rural community versus another rural community. And, does everybody have to have a high school, and does everybody have to have a hospital? And we never thought we could connect the way that we've been able to connect in the last year. And so how do we take advantage of that? We've had a whole reset in how we think about things.
Yeah, I think that's true with the Milwaukee schools too. Now they're looking, what did we learn and what can we use? And I think that's more or less what you're saying too. Yeah.
So if you're an entrepreneur thinking about who's listening to us right now, and John, you use the words, go it alone. You're so busy trying to think about how to start your business, and maybe you need to find some venture capital, and maybe you need, whatever kind of, you're just trying to do everything. But what you're suggesting is to spend time networking, because it's going to return even more assets to you.
And usually it's the leader, but it doesn't have to be the leader. It can be some speciality person in the group. It could be the fundraiser. It could be the bookkeeper, accountant person.
Or even a board member.
Or it could be a board member. But the idea is to have the group come together and say, so what are the resources that exist in our total sphere? And certainly now with the online environment, it's vastly expanded.
Yeah.
But certainly within the state of Wisconsin, there are a number of, let me ask you, the nonprofit that you work for, how many similar related activities in the state of Wisconsin are that are nonprofits? There have got to be probably dozens of them.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit different.
when I started, we're proud to say that we work with over 600 economic developers around the state. So county, community, chambers of commerce, and I honestly was like, what do all these people do?
Right.
And during the pandemic, we've really seen what that network of support can provide for businesses, whether it's helping a Main Street business have a sandwich board that says they're open for curbside pickup, or helping somebody get a PPP loan. I mean, the network of support is really impressive. And I think also then the technical superiority that we have throughout our system schools. So if you have a question about logistics, UW Superior has a whole department, that's one of their specialties, is logistics. Or, Stevens Point has a specialty in forest products and paper.
Right.
So there's kind of how to run your business expertise, but there's also real scientific expertise and research and development expertise that you can take advantage of.
Yeah.
So I think the message here is go on that website, everybody. There's help out there. And, and part of it with an entrepreneur is you think you have to know everything and do everything. And you might be afraid to admit that, doggone it, I don't know how to do that. And so
Wisconsinites don't always like to ask for help either.
That's right. That's right. So this is the time and this is the place. So you've got your opportunity, everybody. So,
And the network provides the capability to do it irrespective of distance and even time to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
You can, it doesn't have to be a specific. It can be open-ended. So.
Yeah.
And, I guess I'd make one other kind of closing remarks. And we've been in the nonprofit world for 30 years in all kinds of different projects. And really, it ultimately comes down to people and your ability to both assess and select and determine where you are going to invest.
For example, John had this great idea for this this conference, but Laura Heisler is the one that makes it happen. So you got to have the right leader.
So we have just 1 minute left. And Tasha, I know I'm going to remind you, I know you wanted to say thank you to the businesses. So I'm going to, would you do that?
I definitely do, because this has been one tough time for both for-profit and not-for-profits to stay strong. And I really want to congratulate all of you for your grit, your creativity, and your ingenuity, because that's what's made you survive. So I applaud you and congratulate you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Missy.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right,
It was
Missy.
great talking with
Maybe
you.
we'll see you in person and
Yeah.
come the summer or fall.
I hope so. Fingers are crossed. We will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, don't leave yet, because we're counting on all of you to introduce the winners. So that's a perfect time to transition to the moment that many of you have been waiting for, which is the announcement of the winners of the 2021 Force for Positive Change Awards. But before we begin, I would like to make a few announcements and acknowledgements. And I want to begin, and I'm going to see if I can make all this technology work with slide advancing. Let's see. I don't think I'm making it work. So I'm going to ask Shauna if you can advance. Thank you.
There we go.
That's great. I want to begin by, that's perfect. I want to begin by acknowledging the land. So this event was to have taken place in Eau Claire had we been able to meet in person. So I'd like to acknowledge the land that Eau Claire occupies. It occupies the sacred and ancestral lands of the Ojibwe and Dakota nations, as well as other nations, including the Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Potawatomi. UW Eau Claire honors this tradition through the symbol of the council oak, which is where members of these nations met to share knowledge and discuss peaceful resolutions to their differences. We also want to acknowledge that April is Hmong Heritage Month, and we want to acknowledge the many ways in which our state's Hmong communities enrich our lives. Shauna, if you could go to the next slide, please. I would then like to thank the 2021 Force for Positive Change sponsors, American Family Insurance Institute for Corporate and Social Impact, Promega Corporation, Marquette University, WEDC, thanks Missy, WARF, and of course our lead sponsors and founders, John and Tasha Morgridge. I'd also like to thank our many partner organizations who came together to make this event and competition possible, as well as all of the speakers and panelists who participated today, and all of you in the audience who have attended today's sessions. If you could go to the next slide, Shauna, I would like to thank the Force for Positive Change Planning Committee and judges who made this year's competition possible, as well as the production team who have made today's event a success. And now to the competitions themselves. Over the next 25 minutes, we're going to announce the results of 3 different competitions. I think we go to the next slide with a special twist at the end. So if you were a finalist and don't see your organization represented in these announcements, I want to encourage you to stay tuned until the very end for a special surprise. And so now I'm going to turn things back over to John and Tasha Morgridge to say a bit about the competitions. John and Tasha, over to you.
Okay. This year we have several different kinds of competitions. In addition to the open categories for social entrepreneurs, we introduced some new kinds of prizes. One of those was a new fellowship for student interns from across Wisconsin, interested in doing summer internships with a Wisconsin-based social enterprise. We invited students from across the state to apply to work with either a past Force for Positive Change winner or one of the Force for Positive Change partner organizations. We screened all of the applicants and then shared the top tier applications with the host organizations who interviewed several candidates to arrive at a match. We selected 5 students to receive fellowships and placed them with host organizations. Each of these students will receive up to $5,000 in compensation over the course of their summer internships. The winners are Ross Vincent, Connor Raboin, Sunmi Famuli, Paige Helke, and Annalise Ebert.
Each year, the Force for Positive Change competition solicits applications from social enterprises across Wisconsin. These can be for-profit or nonprofit. In other words, we're looking for those organizations from across Wisconsin that combine the best of both the for-profit and nonprofit sectors.
That's it. You skipped a little, but that's okay. Okay. My turn. This year, despite all of the challenges that organizations have had to navigate, from loss of revenue to working remotely to having to invent new ways of engaging audiences, clients, and stakeholders, we received 174 applications. These came from every corner of the state and every business sector. Each application was reviewed by 2 judges drawn from nearly 20 different organizations from across the state. From these 45 organizations were selected to advance to phase 2. These 45 applications were each reviewed by another 2 judges who also met with each organization. From these, we identified 20 finalists. These finalists represent a great breadth of talent from across Wisconsin. More than half of the organizations are women-led, and a third are BIPOC-led, and one was started by a 14-year-old. Let's start by announcing the 4 winners of the open category prizes. Each of these organizations will be awarded a $10,000 prize.
You read my script.
I just read his script. You think, well, that's okay. He'll forgive me. I'll still cook dinner.
One of the points that I missed was for the nonprofits, we're looking for those that not only have high social impact of their mission, but also entrepreneurial and have developed revenue streams that will allow them to continue and be self-supporting. So with that, who are the winners?
Let's meet the winners.
Imagine an ecosystem of youth entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial thinkers that impact, influence, and shape their communities through their innovative, socially minded business ideas. Hello, my name is Dr. Roxy Hentz, and I am the founding executive director of CEOs of Tomorrow. We are a nonprofit organization committed to helping youth unlock their entrepreneurial gifts and use them to make the world a better place. At our heart is an engaging and real-world social entrepreneurship curriculum that is aligned to the National Business Education Standards. At our center is our ambitious These Teens Mean Business suite of 5 youth social entrepreneurial programs. Together, they build business content knowledge, business development, product and design development, entrepreneurial process development, and global entrepreneurial impact. Within one of those programs, our teen entrepreneurs even travel to Gaborone, Botswana to share their knowledge with orphan teens and assist them in launching a revenue-generating business while there. Our youth are not only wrapped in brilliance, as I often say, but they stand ready to make social change. Since our inception in 2016, CEOs of Tomorrow's Young Innovators have piloted over 100 socially responsible, revenue-generating businesses, addressing pressing issues of importance to them. Those issues have included immigration reform, racism, human trafficking, global warming, homelessness, and the list goes on and on. They've earned over $12,000 in business profits just during their launch phases, and donated portions of their profit to 34 local, national, and international organizations addressing social issues of importance to them. Because our unique and rigorous programs create pathways to colleges and careers, our teens can earn up to 8 Madison College prior learning credits and up to 4 Madison Metropolitan School District high school credits. Finally, I'm excited to share that in 2020, CEOs of Tomorrow piloted and tested new Business in a Box kits, which we formally branded as Impactful Creations. The inventive businesses within the kits, inspired and created by our teen entrepreneurs, are designed for children ages 8 to 12 and are packed with hands-on supplies, engaging materials, and step-by-step directions needed to launch a fun children's business from home. Impactful Creations are now available for purchase and can be shipped anywhere throughout the United States. CEOs of Tomorrow celebrates its commitment to help the next generation of social entrepreneurs transform the world through their innovative business solutions. Thank you.
So I'm a garbage truck driver, and oftentimes I see an ugly side of our community. I'm driving the streets at very early times in the morning, and I see a lot of folks that don't have homes, sleeping out on benches in the winter, covered up with blankets. And for me, it is difficult to sleep at night knowing that there are so many in our community that can't feed themselves, can't feed their children. You know, and I think one of the big initiatives behind us developing Earthbound was not the service that you see, you know, every day, but really the emphasis that we put on developing the model was the Earthbound idea.
So not only are we collecting your traditional recycling and your traditional garbage, but we offer the ability to divert your compostable material.
I love that I have a small 4-year-old child, and I like to teach him about his impact. That's a really valued thing for me and my family, to be able to contribute in that way.
We're reimagining what garbage actually is. And what we're doing is taking the material that would sit in a landfill for years and possibly generations and turning it into a material that can be used to combat food insecurity. We come to your curb once a week and we pick up your material. But the importance of the movement is that we're in your house supporting you in making decisions that positively impact not only your family, your children, but it impacts everybody in your community for the better.
It's a really good opportunity for me to teach him about his consumption and what to do with that waste that we collect.
In Western Wisconsin, we've already supported over 200 households or 200 families with compost distribution. We've supported community organizations by providing free donated compost to amend soil in community gardens.
It does make me more conscious of consumption in general. I think that my overall waste has gone down a little bit just by being conscious of that.
We have diverted over 100,000 pounds of organic material from the landfill roughly every year.
So, can a garbage company feed a community? Well, if you're just focused on the service, probably not. But with the Earthbound idea, we wanted to reimagine what waste management was. And what we're doing is we're taking your garbage and we're turning it into gardens. We're using that material to combat food insecurity in our community.
So we're actually sitting right now in what's going to be the restaurant. There'll be counters along the wall. Right as you come in, we're having a whole hydroponic wall. So we're going to grow our own microherbs, herbs, edible flowers, things to make food feel fun. Right behind me is going to be the veteran training kitchen. So one of the things that's really important is because we're doing big scale food, it's really important to remember that to teach people how to cook in a regular restaurant, you can't just teach them how to cook with big machines that do all the chopping and big steam jacketed kettles to do all the cooking. You have to teach them how to cook with a saute pan and a stock pot, and you have to teach them how to do it the true way that they're going to find in the other restaurants they go to. So the veteran training kitchen will be not only the training kitchen, but it'll also serve as the feeding kitchen for the restaurant as well. And then you go back, and the back 2/3 of this space are all going to be the commissary kitchen. So picture huge, giant 100-gallon steam jacketed kettles and huge walk-in coolers, big smokers, blast chillers, a whole bakery department so we can make everything we need from scratch. We're really excited. That'll be the driving force for a majority of Little John's. So you guys can only see from here about a little over half of the building. The big half of the building behind us is the refrigeration and storage. So there'll be a lot of refrigeration. So we're building in the back both giant floor-to-ceiling coolers, walk-in freezers, another separate walk-in cooler for all of the meat. We're building a fermentation room. And then there's a big, beautiful loading dock with both straight dock and a variable height dock, so we can have our trucks going out all throughout Madison. We're working with Fitchburg Fields, and they're donating all of the greens that we need. So out front, there's going to be a community garden space. There's going to be a path that goes around filled with bricks from all the people in the community that help make this happen. That'll go all the way around. And then in the middle space, there'll be not only a place for people to sit and eat, but we'll also be growing a lot of our own produce that we can use throughout the year here. And then through, there are gonna be French doors over that side, and you go out the French doors, and over there will be a separate community space just for the veterans that are here, and each one of them will be given their own plot of land that they can grow their own things, so they can see something go from seed to table, you know. So it gives them an opportunity to have that ownership and that tangible thing when they're done with the project, to be able to take it home and to be able to share with their family all the things that they've made.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kaya Fox. I'm the Executive Director at Habitat for Humanity La Crosse area.
My name is Jenny Erickson. I am a professor and community development educator with UW-Madison Extension.
My name is Denise Abdul-Rahman. I'm a regional field organizer for the Midwest and Plains states for the NAACP Environmental Climate Justice Program.
Hi, I'm Patty Metropolis, President and CEO of Kathy's House here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
My name is Sarah French. I'm the Executive Director for the Eau Claire Public Schools Foundation.
The partnership with MREA helped us get out into the community. You know, I've never put solar on anything before, so I didn't know where to start. So they directed me to different grant applications. They truly, with all of their help, let us achieve something that we thought was a pipe dream and is now a reality for Habitat for Humanity.
I was a part of the Grow Solar Sauk County project. I liked this program because it's all about education, providing research-based information on solar and energy conservation. And I have to say that experience in 2018 really exceeded all expectations that I had.
We placed solar onto the Greater St. James Church. And we never want to just place solar and leave. We like to educate the community. And also we kind of did some research and saw that the unemployment rate was fairly high in Evansville. It's always double with communities of color. We came together and collaborated on a virtual training. It was very impactful. Many of them got hired to work on utility scale solar projects.
MREA really was kind of like one-stop shopping. So they helped with our marketing efforts. They helped connect Kathy's House to foundations. I just think MREA is essential.
In 2020, we had the great fortune of working with MREA on our Solar for Eau Claire Schools project. And those panels incorporated not only into our STEM education at our high schools, but also it's a huge energy savings for our school district as well. It was so helpful to work with people who are experts in the field, who are passionate about what they do. MREA is a force for positive change.
MREA is a force for positive change.
MREA for being the positive force for change.
MREA is truly a force for positive change.
MREA is a force for positive change.
So congratulations to this year's Force for Positive Change Open Competition winners. And now here, let me see, do we have that slide? Now I'm now here to announce the Special Consideration Awards. I'm pleased to reintroduce Missy Hughes, WEDC Secretary, CEO, and 2021 Force for Positive Change sponsor. Missy, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. And I'm so excited to introduce the winners of the Special Consideration Awards. So in addition to our usual selection criteria, this year we created 3 Special Consideration Awards in recognition of the unique challenges facing our state this past year. The applicants for these awards went through the same process as those competing in the open category. In addition, they were asked to demonstrate the ways in which their organization made an impact in one or more of the following 3 areas. The first of these is rural prosperity. Wisconsin's rural communities represent everything Wisconsin is known for and celebrates. Likewise, Wisconsin's success depends on the success and resiliency of rural economies and communities throughout the state. In partnership with the WEDC, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, this award will recognize a social enterprise that is working through innovative and sustainable means to create prosperity, vibrancy, and prosperity for rural communities. I've worked with this organization in my previous life, and I can't wait for you to hear about them. The second special consideration category is addressing structural racism. Last year, Governor Evers noted that racism itself is a public health crisis, one that impacts every facet of our life. Wisconsin, he said, continuously ranks among the worst in the nation in disparate outcomes for marginalized population. This award serves to lift up an organization that is working to dismantle structural racism in Wisconsin. The final special consideration prize is for the most effective COVID-19 pivot. COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on for-profit and nonprofit businesses, large and small. The pandemic has forced many entrepreneurs and supporting organizations to have to pivot their business models, partnerships, or programs and services. We want to recognize and celebrate an organization in Wisconsin that has had to make a pivot in the last year that has allowed them to effectively serve stakeholders and create impact in Wisconsin, and maybe even come out of the past year stronger than ever. So let's meet the three organizations being recognized with these special consideration awards.
Midwest Organic and Sustainable Education Service, or MOSES, was formed by and for farmers who believed in the potential and positive effects of organic agriculture for healthier people and planet. From the first gathering of organic farmers in 1996, MOSES has been a leader in the organic movement, identifying unique needs of family-scale farms in the upper Midwest.
I'm in my second year of using the system, and I couldn't be more happy with it.
Our mission has always been to educate, inspire, and empower farmers to thrive in a sustainable organic system of agriculture. MOSES supports farmer-to-farmer mentorships, hosts field days, and makes a team of organic farmers available for advice. We hold formal workshops and continue to host what has become the largest organic farming conference in the country every year here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. As a farmer-led organization, MOSES relies on more experienced farmers to be the leaders and teachers for beginning organic farmers. Beyond how to grow and raise food that is good for the environment, we are giving farmers business models and financial tools to be able to remain viable and on the land. This past year has exposed huge vulnerabilities in our food system. The farmers we work with are those that many of us turn to for food this summer. They run diverse operations, growing organic fruit, vegetables, and grains, and grazing livestock, processed in small, local plants and sold directly to eaters. The success of local farmers leads to thriving rural economies. Organic farms employ people, create income through sales, are entrepreneurial through value-added products, all while building soils, maintaining wildlife habitat, and keeping our water clean. MOSES supports a regenerative approach that goes beyond organic practices, addressing fair wages, animal welfare, and climate health. The future of MOSES is committed to action and change. In addition to farmer education that we have stewarded through the years, we are examining what else is needed, rebuilding systems that have excluded and oppressed Black, Indigenous, and farmers of color, and socially disadvantaged farmers as well. We need to uplift examples of equity and justice instead. Taking back our food and farming systems with a focus on the health of people, planet, and animals will benefit all of us.
mean, Public Ally has changed my life. It brought me to a city that became my home. Because I moved to Milwaukee as a public ally, I was able to learn about the history of Milwaukee, and not just the history of one place, but the entire city, and how the cities come together for great social change and movements, and how we still have running space to do that. So
I feel like PA has really shaped me in a big way with who I am, on the ways in which I think about equity and inclusion, and how it becomes something that I live. And it's not just something I do at work Monday through Friday. It's definitely a part of my life throughout. It gave me another lens in which to look at the world, to really understand systems, and but then how do we dismantle those systems? And then just personally, I had to learn to be really honest with myself, learn to be reflective, and learn how to accept true feedback and how to apply it.
Milwaukee has its own special set of issues, and I believe that Public Allies really can contribute to expanding the diversity of leadership in the city. We need representation across the board, not just in certain issues. So really developing those individuals that are going to contribute to the different social issues and the different ills that plague the city, then I think is a lot better for everybody.
When I think about my time at Public Allies, I think it really helped shape me in getting a better understanding of myself. I know the most hated term there is trust the process, which is a fully loaded thing, but I think for me, and the way I internalized it, is believing in yourself is also trusting the process. And so I think for me, that's the biggest takeaway, is that I had to trust the process, which was believing in myself.
My name is Rob Randolph.
My name is Brahma, and we work for Urban Misadventures, and we're the producers of this video.
One of the phrases that you'll hear a lot is trust the process. And it becomes so cliche, and you get pissed off when you hear it, especially during the actual, Public Ally year. But, it really resonated with me, and it still resonates with me. And it's something that I think about when I'm going through life, and, things don't always necessarily go your way, but if you trust the process, you'll eventually get to whatever goal you set.
Looking back on it, if you see the setup of our workshops, there was no way we could continue running programming based on the proximity of our students and mentors and the shared technology. So on March 13th, we canceled all of our programming and we regrouped, and we looked at how we were going to proceed.
When it looked like we were going to not only shutter our doors, but shutter the program for an indefinite period of time. What was interesting is how important it meant, not just to the staff, but to the families and the people and even the mentors that we support, that we keep going, that we provide a just sense of hope and something to look forward to. I'm really proud of how quickly we did that.
So on March 19th, we launched our first episode of Question of the Day.
Oh, hey there! How you doing? Pulling from my past as an actress and knowing that there was a way to stay connected by something so simple as asking a creative question and having students engage in whatever way they could, provided a sense of continuity that I think we all needed.
Within 2 weeks, we already switched to a distance learning version of our programming, initially with Digital Academy, and then we developed something that we call sandbox programming, Doodle Lounge.
Show up, have internet, bring your iPad, bring a sketchbook, feel welcome and engaged. And we built from there.
I think for our students that participate in Doodle Lounge, it's a community for them. They don't necessarily find that in a school setting where there's students of all different abilities, and so what's great about Doodle Lounge is that it's people who are similar to them and who have similar interests.
Most of the kids enjoy having an audience and an outlet for their creativity.
I actually quite like being in the Doodle Lounge because it helps me to be more relaxed and be more open to talking with people as we're drawing.
Well, I get to draw pictures. I get to see what my fellow friends are drawing.
One thing I'm really proud of is Islands has always had a certain feel, right? You walked in the door and you felt a certain sense of happiness or welcome. And we've been able to transfer that to the online format.
So the amount of reach and access and impact we've been able to deliver to our community has expanded exponentially because of the switch to virtual learning. I think we'll look back on 2020 and how we responded both as individuals and as an organization and see that it changed Islands of Brilliance in a very positive and profound way.
So congratulations to all of our winners, and thank you so much, Secretary Hughes and John and Tasha, for your leadership and generosity in making these awards and this event possible. Before we leave, we mentioned at the beginning that we had a special announcement. And so, see if I can advance the slides. So I want to announce that all of the remaining finalists are being honored as honorable mentions and will receive a $1,000 prize in recognition of your tremendous work. You're all doing transformational work and have continued to create impact during this most challenging year. Those of you in the audience can see videos from all of these organizations, including the honorable mention winners, at the Force for Positive Change website. So congratulations, everyone. And before we finally go, I want to offer a very special thanks to the people who made this event possible and who facilitated the competition. And particularly, I want to thank Becky Ballesteri and Morgan Tice. Without your work, we would not have been able to do what we did today. So thank you all so much. And with that, we will say farewell and stay healthy and see everyone in the future. Thank you.